Hi, welcome to Punchline Talks, the business breakfast briefers. My name is Mark Owen, and each week I invite a panel of business experts to review the morning newspapers, find out what's happened in their own individual business and their own individual business sectors, and finally, what's caught their eye in this week's Punchline. But before I start, I'd just like to thank our fantastic sponsors, Hazelwood's Accountants and Business Advisors, who every week and every year have provided me with free coffee as well. Okay, let's get on with the show. I'd like to introduce you to my wonderful guest. We've got Ian Mean. He's the director of Business West. He's the ex-editor of the Citizen Echo Western Daily Press. He's worked for the Daily Mail, the Mirror. And we're going to find out from him all about the price rises in the newspapers, about papers and media putting up firewalls. So looking forward to hearing a bit more about that. We've got Daniel O'Neill. He's the co-founder of ProCook, who's recently stepped back from the company, although they still own around 69% of it. ProCook has 60 stores, opened a new one in December, 67 million turnover, 700 staff, 200 in Gloucester, and he's in Switzerland at the moment. And we'll find out what Daniel is doing now. Hopefully we're talking toasters, kettles, and bicycles. So a big mix there. We've got Christie. He's the CEO of Neon Play. It's 400 million downloads, if I remember rightly, something like that. He's just launched his new venture, and we'll find out about that. And finally, last but never least, we've got Pennie McKenzie. She's the co-owner and founder of Boho Collective, described as original, alternative, experimental, unconventional, bohemian cafe and bakery. And they're based in Chelford. Right, okay, let's have a quick look at the papers. Lovely to see you all. Let's see what's making the news courtesy of the BBC. Okay, we got The Guardian. Netanyahu, we will not accept Palestinian states after Gaza. The Daily Telegraph, NATO warns of war with Russia in the next 20 years. The Sun, here for you, Kate, says The Sun. The Times, teachers locked in for their own safety. The Eye, government orders inquiry into second post office IT scandal claims. The Financial Times, Hunt signals wish to cut taxes and hold to budgets before the next election. The Daily Express, Hunt plots big tax cuts in budget. The Mirror, left to rot, the state of our nation's children's teeth. The Daily Mail, don't defy the will of the people, Rishi warns the Lords. The Metro, NHS, I survive, be a penguin. I walk like that normally. And the Daily Star, thou shalt have rumpy pumpy. I'll talk to Mrs. Owen tonight. Okay, right. Let's get on with the show. So, Ian, it's all about taxes, if you ask me. What's your thoughts, please, sir?
Yeah, it is all about taxes. And why is that? Because we've got the forthcoming general election. And one word is in the front of all politicians' minds, and that's tax. And how do we cut it? What interested me this morning is that the Financial Times, which you've shown, has actually said that Hunt signals wish to cut taxes and hold two budgets before the election. We've got a budget coming up in March. It looks as though he's going to have another budget. We've got the Daily Express, Hunt plots big tax cuts in the budget, and the big Conservative supporting Daily Mail, Chancellor gives hint that personal tax cuts could be in his budget. My feeling is that that's the key to the election, really. I don't see that the immigration situation, which the Mail is leading on this morning, warning the House of Lords not to kick out the bill, is really a vote winner. Yes, a lot of people are interested in it, but when it comes to it, tax always wins. So two tax cutting budgets would be something that the Tories would welcome.
When are they planning to do the second one? Because obviously the first
March,
one is March.
Well, the second one would need to be just before the election to give the sort of PR push.
But I think surely that there is a big problem out there with our public services anyway. We don't seem to have enough money. We all know the councils are broke and many of them bankrupt. Surely you can't cut taxes. Ollie, what do you think? Was that a good idea?
Well, it's purely politics, I think. I mean, obviously, we all want to have more money in our pockets, but it's the cynic would argue that the Tories are in big trouble. Labour's are marching to the election win, which is probably due, quite honestly. It always goes up and down. And this is just a very simple political ploy to get the voters to think, oh, I'm going to have more money in my pocket. We might give them another go.
Okay, right. Daniel, what do you reckon? Tax cuts, or before we move on to the papers?
We do appear to be slightly broken, don't we? As you say, our public services aren't where anybody wants them to be, yet we're still one of the highest taxed nations in the world. We something doesn't work, does it?
No, I think we're just too inefficient. It's just the system is broken everywhere. I mean, at one point here in Gloucester, we had everything in special measures: police, fire, NHS, teachers. It's a real worry. Penny, what do you reckon? Tax cuts or not? I mean, you run a business. Wouldn't you like to see the base rate cuts, the corporation tax, national insurance tax cut?
Yeah, I think it's exactly as Daniel's just said there, and as everyone has, we do need more money in the pot. So I understand that on one level, and as a mother, the NHS, yeah, I'd love to see that continue, and I'd love to see everything working a little bit more efficiently, as you said. But as a business owner, oh my goodness, yeah, it's hospitality especially suffers from VAT. So we're not sure, and the fact that everything we buy in doesn't have 20% on it, and everything we sell does. So if there was a little review in one of these budgets, I wonder if they're watching. Just please, can you do that? Hospitality, give us a cut. Go on, just a bit.
Well, I can tell you now, our local MPs do actually watch this show. So
there you go.
Make your pitch now.
Yeah.
But Penny, surely for someone like yourself, and maybe Daniel as well, national insurance has gone up or will go up in April. That's a big hit, isn't it?
The rise in the national living wage.
Sorry, this wage. Sorry, yes.
Yeah, so I did a little calculation. We, in our new cafe, our team has shrunk. So just for the cafe up in Chalford, where we have, I think it's 6 employees, we're going to have to support a rise of £560 come April. And that's just coming from nowhere. That's not, we're not able to put our prices up by that amount, by £1 an item, but we're putting our employee cost up by £1 an hour an employee. So yeah, it's going to be a big hit to take at a time of kind of austerity. So well played, Tories, actually. Yeah, very well played.
It's much better for them to put up the national living wage, isn't it, than raise the actual allowance before you pay tax.
Yeah,
the government wins.
Well, it is, because it's not them that's paying it, is it?
No,
it's actually the employers. They've actually taxed companies.
Yeah,
I did my delivery for the next magazine, and my guys have always paid more for the delivery when it's £10. So most of my guys are older. So it's going to go up for me 11.50p an hour, or £11.50, right, an hour. And that's going to cost me, I worked it out, at least another £400 as well, just to deliver the magazine. So I've got to put that onto my cost somewhere, or I take a financial hit. It
does seem to have been what they've done for the last few years, rather than, like you say, like raise taxes. All they've done is cut allowances and raise the minimum wage, which is a clever tactic, as I said, from a political point of view, but actually as a business owner, it's been really hard to swallow. So
and that's why they're no longer, in some ways, the party for business. I think they're losing the business community. Thanks so much for that, Penny. I'm going to go more into the newspapers, if you don't mind. So, Ollie, what have you picked out for us, please, in the papers?
Got a piece in The Guardian about keeping the horrors of old age at bay, and the amount of people over the age of 80 who are still working. My old man's 80 and he's still working. There are, in fact, 35,000 people over the age of 80 working in the UK, and about 55% of them are self-employed. And it's a big thing that I think it's really important that we keep working. I think the idea of retiring at 65 or whatever it is completely ridiculous. Because people need to keep still earning, but also that sense of purpose, of well-being. The brain is a muscle. The brain needs stimulating. And it's something which I'm going to be doing in my new sort of coaching consultancy, is what I call retirement coaching. And I don't really like the word retirement. I don't think many people actually retire at age 65. Is just to get people to realize what are their strengths, what gives them energy, what gets them out of bed, because you can't just play golf all day long or sit there reading the newspaper. So we need people to keep on thinking what will keep them going over the age of 65 into their older age.
Ollie, I've got to admit, I've got to admire you, mate, because it took you at least 8-9 minutes to get your new business into the program. So well done. You can see the sales guy is here. Thanks for that. Dan, what have you picked out from the papers, please, or the national media?
Well, we just announced December's retail sales, and as we saw, they were disappointingly down 3.2%, which was the largest retail drop since January 21 in the COVID in the middle of the COVID crisis. So it was a hard time for it was a very hard time for retail, and I think that we'll see as people make their sort of trading statements in January, that's going to have a knock-on effect on businesses.
Now, obviously, we've seen a rise of returns as well. We were talking about that off air, weren't we? Is that the case for ProCook as well? People are changing their minds?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for us, it's gone up definitely in both channels. So you'd expect it to go up a little bit, I suppose, on the internet, on the web channels, because you sort of don't touch and feel it before you get the product. But what was interesting is retail, where we've seen almost a doubling of returns in retail. For us, luckily, it's still a small number, but it's still indicative, I think, of people getting home and having that sort of a bit of remorseful, or someone saying we don't really need that, and and then bringing it back. So it's interesting. So January will be hard for retailers because clearly there is a lot of purchases in December. January is already bad for returns, so it will be quite a bumper bit of pain.
Do you talk to other kind of different retailers from different sectors yourself? Do you make it a policy, to see what's going on with other ones?
Well, I sort of know other sort of owners of that, and I mean, fashion particularly, obviously their returns, and they do a lot, in terms of, we don't think this will fit you, we don't think it's the right size. So they do quite a lot, and if they notice you've got 3 sizes in your basket, they'll try and because for them it's such a big cost. And most of them are offering free returns. So if they can improve that sort of the IT behind that, then it's a big win for them.
Okay, thanks ever so much. That really, really interesting. Penny, what have you picked up from the national media for us today?
So I picked up actually British Steel's going down, and I was chatting to my partner actually, and he was like, "Yeah, anybody who owns." Or owned a British car in the 80s will know that British Steel wasn't particularly great, actually, but it's improved a lot. So it's a shame we're now losing it. And yeah, it just sort of compounded. It seems like we're losing an awful lot of industry all of a sudden in the UK. And as Daniel's just said, the drop in retail sales, everything, I think from a business owner's perspective, sometimes it can feel quite apocalyptic.
Do you think because, the war in Ukraine and things like that, and obviously what happened with COVID, don't you think we should manufacture things like British Steel?
Yeah.
We should make sure we make those kind of things, because where do we get our bullets from? How do we manufacture girders? If suddenly you can't get these things, surely we need that base to build them.
And actually, funnily enough, when we were talking about making sure we're all working, there's psychology as well, and actually be interested to see what everyone else knows about it. The psychology of working, but working with your hands and having that purposeful, like a tangible task that's then completed within a day or within a shift. So yeah, I feel like not only are jobs being lost, but purposes are being lost, and the chance to achieve and accomplish something within your life and within a working day is going. So the knock-on effect is not just a financial one for the UK, but also a huge, I think, blow for mental health and mental well-being, which we know is a buzzword. And I don't think there's even a 3-year-old. My little girl knows how to name her emotions already. Everyone seems to do all of this. She is funny though. Angry is angry. So yeah, it's very, very descriptive.
Well, I'm just going to stop you there because I mean, for the communities in Port Talbot who are going to go for the Welsh Valleys, it's tough anyway. And to take out 3,000 jobs from a place like that, it's a bit like close to the old pit heads years and years ago. It's going to have a massive effect to the community. Okay, thanks ever so much for that, guys. We're kind of we're moving on. I know that Ian, just very quickly, Ian, you wanted to talk about the front page of this, about the Times. Just touch on that about teachers. And
I know your daughter's a primary school teacher, but I go into quite a lot of schools and I'm astounded at some of these schools about the unruliness of some of these kids. This is an Ofsted report that says that there are literally no-go areas in some schools. When I was at school, respect was something, if we saw a policeman in the street, oh God, it doesn't happen like that. This is not a blanket criticism, but the fact is that many, many teachers are absolutely ridiculed, particularly online, and more teachers are leaving the profession. I pondered a few years ago when I, quote, retired, of sort of perhaps giving a hand on teaching. And I think there's a big area here for older people who've been in business and industry to go back into schools. But it's not an easy job at all.
Oh, I tell you some of the horror stories that I had, because both our daughters were teachers. Anyway, we've got to crack on. Thanks ever so much for that, Ian. Dan, I'm going to go to you, actually. Let's talk about what you're doing now. You're in Switzerland, I know, but you sort of stepped back from the day-to-day running of ProCook. I know that before you left, you and I met in the big, massive 167,000 square foot warehouse that you've got there. And we talked toasters and kettles, and you were just in the process of launching them. Can you tell us a bit about that, please?
Yeah. So we launched kettles and toasters. They've done remarkably well. In fact, we picked up, it was our first sort of foray into small kitchen electricals, and we were recognised by Which as the best kettle, and also a 2 slice toaster, and also Good Housekeeping. We've ranked very highly with them. That might be the other way around, but forgive me if I've got that the wrong way around. But yeah, so we worked hard, and finding the right partner was difficult. But yeah, we've launched a really lovely product, and we're now launching. I think there's going to be about 25 small kitchen electricals within the range. So we've got some air fryer grills. We've got a lovely sort of heavy duty blender coming in. Whole mix. I'm working on the coffee at the moment, which is so that I'm still involved in sort of that new product development, which is always a love of mine. But step back from the day to day, and Lee Tappenden has come in as CEO, and he's much better at it than me, quite frankly.
Is that because of the sheer number of people, Dan?
I'm sort of classic entrepreneur, and like to get involved in almost everything that's going on, and thinks I can do everything better, but actually clearly you can't when there's 700 people. So you need somebody who is better at sort of organizing and taking everybody with them. And he was at Walmart for 25 years, and his last 3 years was CEO of Walmart in Canada. So I think it was $4 billion. So he's got some headway to get ProCook to grow a little bit more.
Okay, so hopefully we can organise that. He can come on the show as well, Dan.
Yeah, he'd love to, I'm sure.
Good stuff. But very quickly, you're also running Quota Bikes, aren't you?
Yeah.
How's that going?
Mike and I think you've chatted to Mike. So Mike and I looked for this sort of single speed, and we're probably going to look to grow that into geared bikes as well this year. So that's quite exciting. We're moving it from a sort of classic wholesale model to direct to consumer, which obviously is my background, which is really exciting. But I've just been looking at this cycle to work scheme, and when they first launched it, companies were able to sort of go and buy bikes, and they'd get the benefit of the being able to reclaim the VAT, and then you could stop at source the value of the bike over 12 months, sort of interest free to your employees. So it gave them a really good, depending if you're a higher rate taxpayer or a lower rate taxpayer, there was a sort of 40, 50, 60% potentially saving, which just encouraged people. And the rule was sort of cycle to work 50% of the time, or use the bike 50% for the sort of cycling to work scheme. And now, it's been changed. There's providers now who charge 7 to 15. I think Halfords is 15% commission. Lots of companies, because it's awkward, have decided to use these partners who are charging these fees, and you have to now charge on the VAT for the bike. So the gain has just been sort of whittled down to not very much, which seems, it was such an encouraging, positive scheme when they launched it. And it just seems to have now, why they don't cap people managing the schemes. Because if you're a small business, it was quite difficult. So I do get that, but it does seem a shame that if you're an authorized scheme, that there's not some sort of cap of what you can charge. And it seems a shame that the government's insisting companies charge the VAT on.
I tell you what, we're looking to that. I never knew that at all. I'll have a chat to a few accountants as well. Dan, we kind of run out of time for that. Thanks ever so much. And just behind you, it's snowing beautifully.
Yeah, we've had about 20 centimeters overnight. So
anyway, right, Ollie, let's go over to you because we've known each other quite a while, actually. I've worked it out, it's like 15 years. I won't do my normal zebra story, so I'm boring everybody with that. But Ollie, tell us about this business. Why are you, well, let's start with the gaming industry, because let's be honest, there's around 20,000 jobs have gone, isn't it, in the gaming industry over the last couple of years. Why is it so tough?
It's been pretty brutal. I think it's a mixture of, through COVID, a lot of people are obviously at home, everyone was at home, so they had a lot of time to game. And I think, and interest rates were low, there was a lot of investment. People just thought everyone was going to carry on at these insane levels of playing and spending. And that hasn't sustained as people have got back to work and there's been less gaming time. In the mobile industry, which my company Neon Play is in, we've been squeezed by increased marketing costs. Apple's privacy policy, where you're allowed to track, allow not to track, has really squeezed things and made it very expensive for us to target new players. And there's just a lot of very high quality competition. It's a very easy space for anyone from a kid in their bedroom to EA to enter onto the same marketplace on the App Store or Google Play. And it's just a savagely competitive industry, really. So yeah, everyone's struggling, but everyone keeps plugging away because you know that if you can get a great game, you can make a lot of money very, very quickly, but it's not easy.
What's the game that you've launched recently
we've got a game which is in soft launch at the moment. It's not so ready, but we are testing it, called Marine Rivals. And it is a lovely game. It's a card battler game. It's 3D card battled where you have different characters and cards and you've got to try and combat and fight in real time against other players. So it's looking really, really nice. We've got a few more months of work to get it ready for a global launch, but we're really excited about it.
And the other one that I always like to talk about, I don't know if any of you have played it, by the way, is kick football, which I didn't realize it's called flick football, isn't it? Kick or flick? So it's on my phone. When I first met Ollie, I got so excited because I didn't realize it was his company that invented it, and Ollie invented it. And I've got it. I play it all the time. It's one of my favorite games. Mainly on the loo, but let's move on. Okay, Ollie, so you've launched your own new business venture as well. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so as my role of CEO of Neon Play, I've got a little bit of capacity the way the company is now shaped, and it's something which I feel very passionate about, is helping other people make the most of their lives, careers and businesses. And so I've sort of started a coaching consultancy and a business consultancy where I want to just help people think about their lives deeply and what they want it to be, the shape of their lives, but also in their businesses and their careers. I think a lot of people are sleepwalking to their graves with careers they don't really enjoy. They're sitting, working in jobs they don't love with people they don't like. And I think it's never too late to change. And I feel really strongly about that. But also running your own business, as a lot of us on this call know, is really, really hard and lonely. And I think a lot of business owners and CEOs would love a bit of support and help from somebody with grey hair who's been there and done that. So I'd love to just be there as a support, a mentor, a consultant for people's businesses as well. So I only launched 2 weeks ago. I've got 5 clients already, so it's been a positive start and I'm loving it.
Okay, well, all the very best for that, and of course we'll keep you posted. We'll get you back on this show as well in 6 months and talk about it a bit more. Okay, Penny, let's go over to you. Thanks ever so much. Can you tell us a bit, the Boho Collective, please, about the company and about the move?
Yeah, absolutely. So the last time I was on, we were still in King Stanley. We had a lovely barn conversion there, and our esteemed landlord put our rent up by 110%, which it turns out was because he wanted his train set back, and he's doing it himself. So he's kitted it out as we had it, and I hope he's doing as well as we were, because we were having a great time. But what we did was said, that's fine, you have your train set, and we're going to take our trains and we're going to find another track up on Chalford Hill. So we've got our lovely cafe there now. Amazing views. If anybody needs to come and do some work and just look out at some of the Five Valleys best views, that's the place to do it. So the move we did in 3 days. I cannot tell you how much I appreciated our crew during those 3 days. They just heads down, thumbs up, let's do this. And yeah, literally shut on the bank holiday Monday, last day up at the barn. And then on the Friday night, we did a launch and it went really well received within the community. But the exciting stuff that's been going on, apart from the fact that Chalford's welcomed us with open arms, is that we've kind of changed the setup of our business a little bit. So we were the Boho Bakery, now we're the Boho Collective. And that's really to acknowledge and to embrace all the different arms that we had going on. I got a little bit tired of everyone saying, if you're a bakery, where's the bread? We always specialised in cakes. So the bakery is still going. We do specialised bespoke cakes for a lot of different celebrities as well. We did Lily Allen's birthday cake during lockdown. That's always the big name drop that I throw in. And then within the collective, we've got Boho on the Hill, our new cafe. We've got catering that we do. The Barkery, you just saw Chili next to me, our lovely dog. So he inspired that. We bake our own dog treats and dog birthday cakes because they need one. But the really exciting thing is we've just launched a sister brand, Boho on Tour. So we do a lot of car meets. My partner Dave heads up Boho on Tour. But yeah, we've just launched it officially and have got a very exciting event coming up in April 21st. Who was it in Siren? That was based in Siren?
Ollie.
Ollie, so there you go, Ollie. Aston Down. So between you and me, there's an amazing ex-MOD site, which is a really quirky and amazing site owned by leaders who have been absolutely fantastic. There's a guy up there called Bill who owns a business called Badger 5. He's got a dyno road. So we're doing it. I'd say it's almost a mini day festival status now. Last time we did an end of season show there, we were expecting 100 cars and 400 turned up. So we're hoping this one will be even bigger. The range of cars is so huge. We've got Beefy Boys coming, Funky Falafel, different food vendors. We've got a coffee cab, which is the final arm of the collective that I wanted to mention. A black cab that we've converted with some friends of ours to do coffee. So the Boho Coffee Cab will make its debut appearance there. There's loads going on. So it's actually been exciting. And I think, as we were saying, in business, sometimes you can feel a little bit lonely and a little bit disheartened as a director. But the last few months, although I think the millennial word would be traumatizing, have been, we've suffered from some traumas. They've been really exciting. And out of trauma, quite often you find new chapters start. So, I would appreciate some coaching actually. And I think anybody would, just to know that actually everything's a phase, isn't it? We've just got to ride the waves and catch them where they fall.
And it's funny, actually, that leads us very, very nicely. Obviously, you two can link up. It'd be lovely. It goes to show you've always got to change. You've always got to be relevant, and you've got to adapt, and you've got to market yourself well. And, that's what ProCook has done. That's why it's been really successful.
Yeah.
Ollie yourself. And it's funny, that leads me very nicely into Cavendish House, which is one of the stories that we've talked about. But before we do that, I want to go to Ian. Ian, I want to talk to you very quickly. We are running short of time, so we want to talk about the cost of the newspapers. Now, you went to the papers today, and you like me, love newspapers. I mean, get our heads off, and we are paper. Let's be honest about it. The price of all of them have gone up, isn't it?
£22.95 for the lot, ranging at the low end from the Daily Star up to £3.50 to the Financial Times, and circulations are plummeting. Online has basically taken over, but the whole media has changed. We find this week that the Daily Mirror got rid of its very good editor Alison Phillips to save money. There's a lot of rationalisation going on. Our local media, and I have to say this, having edited papers here for over 20 years, is almost non-existent. Papers, bluntly, have been too cheap for too long. That's the background. There's enormous resource goes into national papers, particularly, and locally. To me, it is all about stories. Content is king. There are places in Manchester, there's an operation called The Mill, which is they're trying to develop a sort of Manchester newsletter, obviously supported by advertising. I think there's some merit there, but it's all about cost, just in the way that you talked about your magazine and those pages. It's just amazing. You know, when I joined the Mirror as marketing manager of the Mirror Group, what's that, 20 years ago, the Mirror was selling at that time about 1.5 million, printed copies now about 240,000. You know, these are huge, huge drops. We've still got the greatest press in the world, in my view, in terms of its opinion and its professionalism, but it's very, very tough times. And one of the issues we've got, Mark, in localized coverage is that councils, public officials need to be held to account. I've always believed that. I've always tried to campaign for areas like that. And without good journalism, that goes by default.
Yeah, and you've got to hold them to account, and it's very expensive. I've said this lots and lots of times. To go to a council meeting, to actually be there, to find out what's going on, to investigate. You know, we have a press release coming from the Liberal Democrats where you've got to, just because they've said something doesn't mean it's actually true. You've got to read it, understand it. Then you've got to go to the opposition party to give them a case. We got a story like that today. And it's going to take quite a bit of time to unpick it and unravel it. Stories about the airport, which is quite complicated. And again, you know, I get letters from people saying, well, you know, this and that, and you haven't done this. And I figure, well, I'm not the Daily Telegraph, mate. It takes a long time and a lot of investment. And I'll be honest with you, we need that advertising. We need companies to back us in. We need everybody to, if they want Punchline to be here fighting those corners for them, I'll be honest with you, I need that money as well. So do I, in the future, do I put up a paywall? You know, I'm working on this. I don't know the answer, and I don't think the rest, people far more cleverer than me, know the answer either. Anyway, I think we'll stop there. We'll find out the pick of the punchline, because at least you've all had a good chance to see our work, and it's not every company that gets to view your work every day. Daniel, I'll start with you. What do we pick out from the punchlines? We'll have to be quick though, unfortunately.
Cav House closing, obviously. Quite sad. I mean, I remember when I moved here in '87, it was such a vibrant shop to go and visit. And yeah, I mean, you if you go in it of late, you know, some of the doors are locked, the lights are not on, there's no people in there. I mean, it's pretty depressing. It's hardly a surprise that it's closing.
Yeah, I haven't bought anything there for 30 years. Never been in there. You know, let's be honest. Normally walk through. Bit like Debenhams in Gloucester, isn't it? Same thing. Penny, story of the week from Punchline.
Yeah, mine was Cav House too. Just I think, like you said, oh my gosh, it's shutting. But yeah, when was the last time that I actually bought something? Yeah, if we don't use them, we're going to lose them. That's it.
Totally. For all our businesses. Ollie?
It was Lewis Rees-Zammit quitting Gloucester Rugby to go into America to become try to become an NFL American football player. You know, which is a massive shock because he's in his prime and, you know, playing brilliantly for Gloucester and Wales. But I love the fact that he's actually doing it, and it just goes to show you can change career, and you've got to be brave, and taking risks in life is a good thing, and it can really give you energy. So I actually doffed my cap to him, and if it doesn't work, he can still come back, and he's still been in his mid-20s. But I thought it was a brave but good risky move.
I had a text from my best mate in Wales. We were all gutted, as you can imagine, being being a Welsh fan as we are. It's going to be a tough season anyway. Thanks for that, Ian. Pick of the punchlines.
Well, I agree with everyone on Cav House. 201 years. My wife's actually got £100 voucher, and she said today we better get in there quick. But you know, it's as Daniel says, it's empty. It's like a shell. During the summer, no any sort of air conditioning. Very, very poor. But also, this is the high street, isn't it? This is a huge store. I think Cheltenham, who boasts itself on its shopping, needs to be very careful what they do there. And the other point I think Ollie made on re-summit. Rugby union in this country is in an absolute state. It really is. You know, Gloucester, apart from the fact they're at the bottom of the table, lots and lots of things going on there, and I don't blame him. I think it's a fantastic idea to go there.
I think, to be honest with you, let's be honest, the whole country is in a state, and that, unfortunately, is where we're going to stop today. I'd like to thank our fantastic panel. Thank you all very much for joining us. Thank you for watching. If you like the show, please like, share, and subscribe. And also a big thanks to our wonderful sponsors, Hazelwood's Accountants and Business Advisors, who I couldn't do this show without. Thank you all very much. And remember, please, it's all in the punchline. We'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.